Didn't even go to church, but I woke up feeling all blessed. If I got something to say to it, I'll say it with my chest. Spend my own money whenever I get a check. I ain't saving hoes, it's up on my chest. Every time I pull up on the scene, I let it flex, flex. When I step out in the crib, yeah, you know that I'm best dressed. When you're approaching me, little, better come correct. No way, no way. Ooh, get out my face. Ooh, get out my lane. Just give me my space. I'm dreaming, they're scheming. I'm dreaming like.
To Richard the Secret Williams, thank you for joining me, Abs,
My
on
pleasure,
Top
my
Red
pleasure.
Interviews. Richard, thank you very much for coming onto the channel. I don't know if you've seen any of my work, but I like to speak to various people that are involved in the sport.
Right, okay.
You guys are all books to me, and I feel like every time I speak to one of you, it's a trip out to the library, and I'm learning so
Okay.
much. So it's a great honor and a privilege to have any guest on the show. So I just want to give
Thank
you a
you.
warm welcome.
Well, I hope I live up to that billing now.
I am sure you will. So
All right.
I've got a couple of notes here, a little bit of
Okay.
research that I've done on you. You're a former Commonwealth light middleweight belt holder, coupled with the IBO. You had
Yeah.
27 professional fights. Your nickname, which we'll get onto, is The Secret.
Yeah.
You were a professional boxer for 15 years, and you were managed by Barry Hearn and John Rooney, and you were trained by a chap called Brian Lawrence. You had your pro debut in 1997 and your last bout in 2012.
Yeah, more or less.
Come on, correct me.
More or less. Brian Lawrence was my is my trainer and a good friend of mine to this day. But he only trained me for my last few fights when I
Okay.
like towards the end of my career.
Yeah.
Like he knew me all the way through my career, but he only really trained me for the last part of my career. What happened is I I turned professional at 25,
Yeah.
and my first trainer was a guy named Carly Carew. He was Carly Carew, and I had 3 fights with Carly. I lost my third fight. I lost my third fight to a guy named what's his name? Mark Alexander. Michael. Sorry, Michael. Michael Alexander.
Hmm.
I left Carly, and I actually didn't fight again for about 2 years or so.
Wow.
And
Okay.
um, I joined James Cook and Don Davis as my trainers,
Yeah.
and they trained me for the box. Well, I say they were a team, but I did my training mostly with Don Davis. Don Davis was the person who really made me understand boxing,
Okay.
and and it made me think about boxing on a completely different level as than I had been while I was an amateur or anything like that.
Okay.
That was a great learning. So and then I won the IBO belt. Don and James split up.
Hmm.
I left with Don, and and then I finished that part of my career with Don Davis. After I lost to Sergio Martinez the second time,
Time.
then I left boxing. Then I came back and I had a little stint with Brian Lawrence, and that's when I had I moved up to middleweight.
Yeah.
I had the fight with Howard Eastman,
Yeah.
and then it was over.
It was over. I've
Yeah,
looked at you. You're one for rematches. You've had 2 rematches in your career. Paul Samuels, 2002.
yeah.
You had a draw. You obviously wasn't happy with that decision. Straight in
Well,
for a rematch. I think it
yeah,
was 6 months later, and you won.
yeah. Well, I don't know what happened around that fight. The first fight, it was the first defense really of my IBO belt. And what happened was we had the fight.
Hmm.
I started off really well. He hit so hard. I'm telling you, he hit really hard,
Mm.
and I started off really well. Uh, I hurt him in the first round with a right hand,
Yeah.
and his legs went. And I'm telling you, I was feeling so good that night. I hit him, and he buckled. And I'm gonna tell you the absolute honest truth. Okay, in that short period of that first round, he had hit me so hard. I was like, this, I've never been hit like this before, ever.
Mm.
Right? So when I wobbled him, I was like, I need to get him out of here now. And I I panicked, right? I panicked. I wasted about 8, 9 punches.
Okay.
And by the time I got myself back together again and started to listen, you got to do this properly. I started to catch him again, but it was the end of the round. So
Okay.
that was the first round. So I blew that. I was like, that's my fault. But what happened in the second round? In the second round, and it was deemed a clash of heads. I'm absolutely honest with you. I have no idea when we clash heads or if we clash heads or whatever. All I know is that I felt this sharp pain at my eye, and then in my right eye, and then I couldn't see anything out of it. Couldn't see anything out of my right eye.
Okay.
And the second round, I fought mostly like just through seeing shadows and haze, like sort of thing.
Wow.
So I got back to the corner. They cleared out my eye. I realized my eye was bleeding. It was blood that was going into my eye and actually stopping my vision. But not only that, the funny thing, I laugh now. When side note to that was the blood went into my right eye, and so I couldn't see out of my right eye. But looking out of my left eye, my vision was completely, it was hazy. What I found out after the fight, because I went for an eye test after the fight, is I actually had the start of a cataract growth in my left eye.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so if I covered my right eye and I stood like, if I was about a foot away from you, I
Mm.
wouldn't be able to see like the color of your eyebrows or the color of your eyes. It was that bad, and I found that out during the fight with Paul Samuels. So and then the third round, another cut opened. Referee called it a draw. Um, and then like we had to have a rematch. This is a funny thing about boxing, and I see it now when I watch boxing, is that you have the experts, the ex pros or whatever on the thing, and sometimes I get upset because fights happen, and these people, the commentators or whatever, they're putting maybe what they would do or what they would be thinking. Because I remember hearing people say, "Oh, he won't want the rematch. He won't want that. He won't want to fight Samuels again," and all of that sort of stuff. Where the actual truth of it was, before I even left the arena that night, I said to Barry Hearn that the only fight I'm having after this one is a rematch. That's the only fight I was going to accept, because it was that important to me to
That
rectify
was
what had happened.
all. Yeah.
So and this is the thing sometimes with boxing, is that I get annoyed because most fighters want to fight. Most fighters, they're not scared to fight another person. They're not scared. That's the essence of being a fighter, is that the odds are against you and you still think, I can do it. That's the essence of being a fighter. So when I hear these people, oh, he won't want to fight him, he won't this, that, I hate it. And it's even worse, and I think it's prevalent nowadays. A lot of these fighters, they don't want to fight each other, and I'm sickened by it personally. I'm like, I can't stand that. Fighters are supposed to fight. Win, lose or draw, you're supposed to fight. You're supposed to take risks, and I think there needs to be more of that nowadays.
Do you think that's down to the fighters or their management being political with choosing fights?
Well, you know what? This is the thing. I know, like, before, back in the day, certainly when I was fighting, it was, there was a little bit of managerial stuff around like that. But what is surprising me now is that a lot of fighters are businessmen.
Yeah.
And are businessmen first. And I understand, because you got to make money, you know. But fighters, I think generally fighters want to fight. The promoters, managers sometimes have too much say. And I think, you know, nowadays, I was talking to somebody just recently, I was saying, with like social media and Instagram, all of these fighters have got each other's Instagrams and their whatever not. I think certain times fighters need to just hook up with each other and say, yeah, listen, we need to fight. We need to fight. Make the fights happen. I think the fighters want it. You know? I've spoken to, I don't know if you remember, like when I was fighting, there was a guy, Wayne Alexander, and he was a British European champion. We had a big fight in the amateurs, and we would have loved to have fought each other. He was with Frank Warren, I was with Barry Hearn, and it didn't happen. And realistically, you know, I think to myself, both myself and Wayne, we should have said to our promoters, this is the next fight we want. Because we would have made some good money. That's, you know, it would have made sense. Well, he was with Frank Warren, I was with Barry Hearn.
The same old, what happening now?
Yeah, so, you know, like Frank Warren's not gonna have the fight unless I'm with him. I suppose Barry don't want the fight unless Wayne's with him.
Yeah.
You know, it's all of that sort of stuff. And ultimately, what loses out is boxing.
Yeah.
We lose out because we probably would have earned good money.
Yeah.
Boxing loses out because they would have seen a good fight.
So then comparing that then, I mean, back then, and we're only looking at what, the 90s, 2000s.
Yeah.
So the politics back then, you know, with cross promoters, getting fighters together. I mean, how do you think that compares to nowadays?
Well, I think it's pretty much the same, isn't it? I mean, like Eddie and Frank working together now is like, oh, it's hard stuff. Look at Crawford and all of that stuff that's happening. Like you've got PBC, you've got Bob Arum. They can't make the fight everybody wants to see, Spence and Crawford. They can't make these fights. It's criminal. And I think boxing is the loser, you know, because the thing, and you know, take MMA for instance, and I'm not really an MMA fan. I respect what they do massively, but I don't find it that appealing to watch myself. But at least, you know, the best are gonna fight the best. The best are gonna fight the best, and if they lose, you know, this month, then they might see it again 6 months later. And that's what people want to see. In boxing, it's like, oh, this title, that title, it's nonsense. There's just too many titles, too much nonsense for me personally.
No, I hear what you're saying, and it's the fans. It's, you know, it's people like myself that lose out because sometimes we look at it and we think, why can't they just get that fight on?
Absolutely.
Why is it so difficult? Why is there so much politics involved in boxing? And then it's like the buck comes back to the fighters. Oh, he doesn't really want it, because if he really wanted it, surely it should happen. But that's not quite right, is it?
No, I don't think that. You got to think now, it's a big machine. You know, it's like, and even like nowadays, you see a lot of fighters, like when they get established, they win world titles and stuff like that. Then they've got their own promotions company. So now they're doing their joint promoters with their you know, with their promoter and manager or whatever. Yeah. And then now they've got a different interest. You see what I mean? And then there's the TV networks and all of this. So don't get me wrong, like TV in boxing that increases everybody's money.
Yeah.
You know, titles in boxing, it generally increases people's money. That's a good thing. But it makes it harder to make these fights when one person's on one network, another person's on another network, and it gets confusing.
It gets confusing and really frustrating. So I'm glad you really, you touched on that, because it doesn't seem, after all these years, it doesn't seem to have changed much. However, there's more belts involved. Promoters are still I'd say the two top promoters in this country, as in Frank Warren, and not Barry, but obviously he's passed the torch on to Eddie.
That's right.
The only losers really are the fans, because we just want to see the fights. So
you know what?
Sorry,
you say, sorry. You say it's not just the fans though, because I think it's the fighters as well. Because and I'm talking as a retired fighter now.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like for instance, I fought for the IBO belt. I didn't want to fight for it. I remember when I had the meeting with Barry and he said I was fighting, but I was like, I don't want it.
Why?
I wanted to go because you got to think. I grew up watching boxing.
Yeah.
80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And like there was the WBA, WBC, IBF. That is it. I grew up on watching Donald Curry, Marlon Starling, you know, Rocky Lockridge. These are the guys that I watched. WBA, WBC, IBF. That's, you know, Larry Holmes. That's all I was interested in.
Yeah.
If I weren't fighting for that, I was like, well,
okay.
Surely I was the Commonwealth champion. For me, I was like, I wanted to fight for the British, the European. You see what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do. And like it came down to a financial thing of like, well, you're gonna get 3 times more if you fight for this. I was like, eventually I was like, well, okay. Because in my mind, eventually I would get back on track and go forget the British. You see what I mean? Yeah. But it just took me a different direction, and you know, frustration. Frustration.
The carrot.
Yeah, you know, but this is the thing. You know, you make decisions at the time, and what can you do? But what I'm saying is, like, when I look back, through my career, you know, like I would have loved to have fought Wayne Alexander. I would have loved to have fought the other good light middleweights in the country, you know, because they were around when I was around, and people were like, oh, can you beat Wayne? We think this and we think that and blah. So like for me, I was like, well, let's prove it.
Yeah.
That would have been better for me, having those people on my records. You see what I mean? Like in terms of like what you're leaving behind or whatever, what you've achieved.
Yeah. I
don't care about, you know, I'm like, I don't care about the ideal belt. It's like, for me, it's like, to be honest with you, like I said, growing up WBA, WBC, IBF, and I don't want to sound ungrateful for anything, but like the IBL belt has sort of been like a millstone around my neck. I don't really like when people when people talk about it. I'm telling you the truth.
And that's the first thing I used to introduce you. We've set off on a good.
No, but you know what? But this is the thing, and it's like I understand because that's what people do. But I'm just saying, from my perspective, it's like I sort of, oh, you won the IBL. I'm like, yeah, like I cringe, and I'm like, what I usually say is, like I was Commonwealth champion and I was rated in the world top 10. That's what I say. I was rated in the world top 10. All right, cool. I'll leave it at that.
We can edit this bit to go back to the beginning. This is what it says on Wikipedia, but this is what the secret wants you to put out. We can do that. I'm versatile like that. We can do that. But it's an achievement because I know that there were less belts, but in the fan era that I'm in now, the IBO is just like a normal belt. It's like it's one of them up there because I don't remember the birth of that belt coming through. Because I wasn't there at that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I'm gonna tell you the truth. So what did I call you? Did I call you Red?
You call me what you like.
Right. So I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like for me, like I said, There was the WBA, WBC, IBF, and like nowadays there's the WBO. It's the big four. Okay,
Yeah.
but in my mind, like when I hear, and some really good fighters have won the
Yeah.
WBO, but for me, when I hear WBO, I'm like, eh. But
It's
that's just me
old
because
school.
of what I grew up watching, and and that's the thing. So if I don't even recognize the WBO, I'm definitely not going to recognize the IBO. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. No, I
What?
hear that because it's like what you grew up on, and it's
Yeah,
what you saw as an achievement. That's something you wanted to achieve. So then they're throwing another belt at, and you're like, no, but I want that one. But then they give you the carrot and say, yeah, you can get that one, and then you can possibly be a challenger for the other one. Here's the carrot.
yeah,
And like you said, it never turns out the way you want it to.
absolutely.
This is boxing, and
We
this
live
is
and learn. Boxing
and
is life.
timing,
Yeah.
and timing, timing is just so important in this sport. So
Yeah.
you have a 15-year career, a good career, some good scalps on your record, 27 pro fights. So talk to me about you pushing from obviously your career and then you decide, okay, we're retiring.
Ooh, retiring. But you know what it is? It's like, 'cause I had a family,
Hmm.
got a family. I'm doing my thing. Um, Boxing's getting slower, and like, to be honest with you, even when I went into boxing originally, I was like, and I'd always been working. I've been working since I was 17. I've
Okay.
always been working.
Yeah.
And even while I was fighting, I was in the top 10 in the world before I stopped working. You know what I mean? That's why, like now, I get frustrated with some guys, because I train a few pro fighters now and then, and like I get frustrated where they're like, "Oh, I want to be a full time." I'm like, "You don't need to be a full time professional. You're only fighting 4 rounds. It's like 6 rounds." I'm like, and I was in the top 10 in the world, and I was still working part time. So, you know, it just keeps you on track a bit better, I think, when you've got something else to do.
Mm. So
You
what do
know.
you think about
Um,
that mindset then where you was fighting, you was a pro fighter and you still kept a full-time job compared to today's fighters, like you said, fresh, doing 4 rounds to start off with, and they're already like, I want to do this full-time and nothing else. How does that
yeah,
compare? Like,
listen. Well, you know what, and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. I'm not disrespecting anybody, but like I always say, a lot of people, they say they want to be a professional fighter. They
yeah.
say they want to be a professional
Mhm.
fighter, but they don't really want to. They, whether they're working or not, whether they got sponsors or not, they don't really want to put the time in that it takes. Because if you wanna rise above the crowd, if you want to get your head to come up above that,
Yeah.
you got to work hard. And like a lot of these people, they just don't work hard enough.
Talk
Straight
to me
up and
about that.
down, they
I want you to talk to me about that. You say that they don't work hard enough. I need you to talk
they
to me
don't work
about
hard.
that because I
They
agree
don't.
with you, but I need you to talk to me in detail about what is
They
working hard enough.
working hard enough is you wake up and you're thinking about boxing. You go to sleep when you're getting. You're thinking about improving. Every day is about learning. Every single day, every single moment is about learning. You
Mm.
know, and it's like studying the game,
Mm-hmm.
not just like nowadays. Right, I tell you, this gym, I'm blessed. Like about a year and a half now. Year and a half? Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I've got two business partners, and we opened a gym in London Bridge. One of my business partners is a director of a company called LXA. They build stuff. That's
Oh,
why
okay.
this gym is a beautiful gym. It's proper. It's
You'll
like,
have to invite me down.
yeah. Listen, invitations open.
You know what I mean?
SE9DD. There you go. Right, it's a lovely place. Do you boxing? A bit of boxing, yeah?
Only a little bit.
Yeah.
Only a little bit. I train. I train very hard.
Okay.
Boxing is part of my fitness. Um,
Yeah.
so I spar sometimes, but I'm more into the strength and conditioning side of it. I absolutely
Right.
love
Okay.
fitness. Um, because
Well, listen.
you can't beat strength and conditioning for boxing. You're just not going to get that anywhere else.
Right, right. I hear you. That's interesting. What sort of stuff do you do?
Oh God, you see these things here? I've got things here that help strengthen like your shoulders and your back. They're like steel
Okay.
clubs. They're
Yeah,
offset
yeah,
weights. Yeah. So
yeah,
there's
yeah,
light this side, heavy this side. So you can do some
yeah,
stuff with them. Kettlebells, of course. Kettlebells
yeah,
are
yeah,
very important. Skipping. And I've got these things here as well. These are a bit different. It's the offset weight again. You've got
yeah,
8 kilos at the end, and obviously a lightweight there. You can do
yeah, yeah, yeah.
squats, you can do swings, you can do lunges, and these all help to rip your muscles into lovely shape, give you definition. And then there's
All right,
stuff like skipping and body weight work.
right. Well, I tell you, if you're ever around here, send me a message, and I'll show you some stuff on the bag to do.
I'd love that.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd love that.
Um, because I think you see the whole strength and conditioning thing. What I find now, what I find now is that a lot of people, I've had fighters come to me to train them, and like they start training and they're like, oh, I'm gonna start my S&C. I'm like, okay, but you can't punch properly, but you can't stand properly.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
All right.
I'm like, I understand the S&C, but you need to be able to do these things properly. When you
Fundamental.
and learn how to and learn. Listen, I'm telling you this now, right? I watch. I've been in boxing for like 30 something years, right?
Yeah.
And I watch boxing pro fighters, amateur fighters hit bags and stuff like that. And I would say that like 60% of them have no idea what they're doing. They can't hit a bag properly. They can't shadow box properly. It's like, wow, seriously.
Shadow
It's
boxing is
a
a weakness of mine.
shadow boxing.
Yeah. But I think
Oh,
I think I feel embarrassed about doing it
okay.
because it's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, no, I hear that.
And I
Yeah,
think maybe if I just sort of like said, just pretend you're on your own, don't worry about it. Even if I'm on my own, it feels weird.
yeah. See, but this is the thing. What you need to do is when you do it, do you picture you're fighting somebody?
Okay. No, I don't.
Yeah.
It's usually
No,
mirror reflection, ain't it?
nah, forget that.
Oh,
Forget that.
I'm going to
Forget.
school today. Let me pull my chair in.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Forget the mirror.
Okay.
Forget the mirror. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All you're thinking about is there's an opponent in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's an opponent in front of you, and you got to think. A jab comes, how would you slip it? A
Mm-hmm.
cross comes, how would you slip it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, so if you just start with first, like slip a jab,
Yep.
slip a cross, and then you
Mm-hmm.
think, okay, if I slip the jab, what's open to me?
Counter. Okay.
If you slip across, what's open to me? And that's how you learn to fight.
Brain.
But that's how you learn to fight. And this again, facts that a lot, so many fighters, they don't want to shadow box. And I'm
They
like,
don't.
they don't want to shadow box, right? I'm telling you now, if you can't, this is just my
Mm-hmm.
rant, like my rant. To me, if you can't shadow box, you can't fight.
Mm-hmm. I
If
agree.
you cannot shadow box, you cannot fight.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. It's like it's that important. Shadow boxing, forget pad work. Pad work is it can be useful, but
Okay.
shadow boxing is much more important than pad work, because shadow boxing is about your imagination. If you can't imagine it, you can't do it. It's as simple as that. And it's like life. That's anything. If you can't imagine it, how can you do it? And this is the thing. You have to be able to manage these things. If I do pad work with you now,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll call out punches for you to throw.
Yeah.
That's my imagination. You know,
It's not
this
like
is
that in a fight, is it?
not like that in a
Your
fight. This
opponent's
I
not going
always
to tell you what to throw, is he?
this is it. I equate it to this, right?
No.
I equate it to this, right? If you go somewhere and you read a map,
Yes.
if you have a physical map and a book and you have to read the map and you find that location,
Yeah.
all right, you'll do it maybe once or twice and then you know where you're going.
Memory. Yeah.
If you just follow Google Maps, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right,
You're not
when you get,
learning.
you're not learning.
Right. You're
This is
right.
what I'm saying.
You're right.
Pad work is Google Maps. Yeah. Shadow boxing is you reading the map,
Okay.
and it's that serious. It's a serious thing.
I like when I get taken to school. No, because it's learning.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Nothing that you're saying, it's not like, no, that's weird. No, it actually makes sense.
All
Because
right,
you
that's
are
good.
right. You're
All right.
definitely right. But going back then, we were talking about a
Yeah.
mindset of a fighter.
Yeah.
You say you got to the point where you say, you go to bed. I'll put it back to you.
Yeah. It's like wake up. It's like boxing. How can I improve?
Mm-hmm.
You're standing up in the checkout queue and you're thinking, you're thinking about punches coming at you and stuff like that. Box, it's a lifestyle.
Mm.
It's boxing is a lifestyle. If you drop in and drop out of it, it's like you might do okay, but you're not gonna have that sustained success. You're not gonna have it. You
Mm.
know, um, one of the things, that I always say about my own career is
Yeah.
that when and I took it seriously when I turned professional, I
Yeah.
got my jaw broken in the amateurs,
Ooh,
right?
okay.
Yeah, it got broken in the amateurs, and I thought to myself, well, it got broken in the amateurs. I might as well turn professional and see what it's. I just turned professional to see as an experience because I was always, like I said, I was always working.
Yeah.
So I turned professional. I didn't turn professional thinking, oh, I'm going to be a champion or anything like that. For me, I was like, I love boxing. I love challenging myself. And I was like, I love trying to outthink somebody. I love that trying to outlast somebody. I love that competition. And that's why I turned professional.
Okay.
I never thought to myself, I want to be a champion or anything like that. It was just a fun thing. It wasn't until I think it was my 11th fight, and a guy, John Richusen, he used to work with Barry, and he said to me, "Oh, we're gonna get you the Commonwealth title fight." And that was the first time. That was my 11th fight, and I thought to myself, "Wow, okay, I could make a living out of this." That's the first time I thought of that,
Mm.
and I was like 11 fights in. But when I was training, first of all, anyone in my gym, like the other fighters that I was training with, yeah, we're all in the same camp and everything, but everybody is competition. I would look at the best person in any gym, and I think to myself, well, I want to be noticeably better than you. Any gym I went to, I was like, I want to be the best person in it. I want to be the slickest. I want to be the hardest punching. I want to be the fittest. And that is how I lived every day. It was like, that's my mindset of every day.
It's almost obsessive, isn't it? Obsessed with being the best.
Yeah.
Not even the
But
best you can be. It's like better than others.
yeah, if I saw somebody do something, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that, and I'm gonna see if it works for me. I'm gonna see if I can bring it in. And like, because think about this. There is nothing that you see in boxing that hasn't been done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been done. Boxing's been going for so long. It's been done already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just how you interpret a situation.
Yeah.
It's how you interpret. Everybody that gets in the ring with you is a puzzle, and you have to work the puzzle out. That's all it is.
Yeah. I was going to go I was going to try and go a certain direction with you in this interview, but you've pulled me in, and I want to know a little bit more about the psychological side, because like you said, you're trying to figure somebody out, Boxing is a puzzle. Your opponent is a puzzle that you got to suss. You got to suss them to win. Talk to me a little
Absolutely.
bit more about that.
But this is what I'm saying about this is why shadow boxing is so important,
Mm,
because that is exactly that. It's a puzzle. So you think, okay, if I move my head to the
yep,
left,
yep.
right, what does your opponent do? If their head moves to the left,
Hmm.
do they stay still? Um, there's a fight, Amir Khan versus Canelo,
Oh yeah. Okay.
right? Right,
Yeah.
that fight. If you watch that fight, um, before Khan gets knocked out,
Yeah.
right? Before Khan gets knocked out, he Canelo, I think it's the round before or so, right? All of a sudden, Canelo walks up to him, and it's the
Yeah.
first time he does it, like maybe a round or so before he gets knocked out. Canelo walks up to him, and his head goes up, his head goes out to the left, and he just throws a jab. His head goes out to the left, and he throws a straight punch. His head goes out, and then he moves his head, and then he punches. He
Or
moves
he rolls the shot.
right, exactly. So what he's doing, he's moving his head, and then he jabs. But Khan's head stays in the middle. He moves his head, and this is the thing. As a fighter, this is why shadow boxing. Everything is for a reason, right? As soon as he drops his head out, you should be thinking, why has he done that? What is available to him? What can he throw? Because he did it and he didn't do nothing until he came back to the center. So he kept putting his head out. He did nothing. He moved out and then he jabbed. He
Yeah.
moved out and then he threw across. But realistically, if you understand mechanics of your body, you see, like, are you left or right-handed?
Right.
Right. So you stand with your left leg forward, right?
Yeah. Orthodox.
Yeah. So you're orthodox. So think about this.
Hmm.
As you move in an orthodox boxing stance, as
Hmm.
you move your head to the left,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As you move it to the left, the hardest punch you can throw is a right cross or
Hmm.
right hook.
Yeah.
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 It's the right hand.
Yeah.
As you move your head to
It's
the
the
left,
balance. Yeah.
the hardest punch you can throw is your right hand.
Yeah.
So Canelo started to dip to the left, but he didn't throw the right hand as he was dipping.
Okay.
He kept throwing it as he
Came
come
back.
back and then he would jab. He could come back and then he'd throw the cross.
Hmm.
But if you look at the punch that he knocked Khan out with, is as he dips, Khan throws a left hook and he throws the hardest punch he can throw, which is the straight right hand.
Bang.
Boom, done. But it was a punch that was set up in it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And these are the things you got to see. These are the things that
IQ.
IQ.
That's
You see what I
boxing
mean?
IQ.
IQ. It's about the IQ. It's little things like that. Like you seen Dylan White and Povetkin.
Yeah.
I was talking about this one like 2 days ago with a group of people.
Yeah.
Right? Dylan White. And again, it's about picture, and you just try and picture it in your mind, right?
Yeah.
You think about it now.
Yeah.
Dylan White throws a straight right hand.
Yeah.
Povetkin slips out to his left.
Hmm.
So as a fighter, you throw a right hand, you
Mhm.
know the punch that's loaded for your opponent is a left hook or a left uppercut.
Hmm.
Left hook or a left uppercut, right? If you stay in the middle and throw a left hook and keep your right hand up, you can block the left hook, but you can't block the left uppercut. You can't block the uppercut, right? Dylan White, he threw the right hand
Hmm.
and he threw the left hook with his head in the middle. And the uppercut came through. Right? Now, but this is the thing. If you shadow box and understand things, think about movement. The way to, if you throw a right hand
Yeah.
and they slip out to your left,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
If you lean to your right as you throw the left hook
Yeah.
with your hand up,
Yeah.
if they throw a left hook, if you throw a left hook, it will
Yeah.
block it.
Yeah.
If they throw a left uppercut,
Going
it
through.
will
Yeah.
miss you.
Yeah.
It will miss.
Wow.
It's those little things. And that, because a blink of an eye, the fight's done.
Blink of an eye.
And it's little things like that. That's why shadow boxing is important.
Wow. You have literally, I know this is quick, but you've just took me to school there and you've taught me a lot.
Thank you.
And
I'm
this
glad.
is why I love speaking to people that have got experience, people that have been in there, that understand it, and then take their knowledge and pay it forward. That don't sit there selfishly hating at home about every new boxer that's coming through. Oh, I would
Oh
have done
yeah,
it
yeah.
better than you. No,
Oh yeah, crazy.
pay
There's
it
a lot of
forward.
them.
No comment. But you pay it forward. You're
Yeah,
teaching me. You didn't have to tell me that, but that's some IQ, some knowledge that you've passed on to me. Shadow boxing. I will never
shadow
forget
box.
Google Maps now. I'll never forget that. That is something that is going to stick with me. Do you want to be able to read the roadmap and learn it off by heart, or do you want Google to tell you everything? Shadow
Exactly.
boxing.
And that's what pad work is. That's what
Okay.
pad work is.
Do you think there's any benefits to pad work, as in
Hundred.
accuracy and
Oh,
timing?
happy. Oh, listen, 100%. This is the thing because I use pad work. I use pad work, but the thing is this: shadow boxing is the thing to improve at because you know when you're fighting, you can't have your trainer call out every single punch. You got to think on the move.
Yeah, you're
You've
right.
got
Dynamic.
you've got yeah, you've got to understand movement and momentum. You've got to understand like if I throw a jab and someone moves out to the right, they're probably going to throw a right uppercut, a right hook, right cross.
Mm,
So you already know what they can throw depending on the direction they're moving, even the
okay.
speed that they're moving. It's like it all plays a part in it. It's like roadmaps. So this is what if you watch, for instance, Floyd Mayweather,
Hmm.
master defensive
Yeah.
fighter,
Yeah.
but a lot of the time, if you what there's so many clips of him like doing these defensive things, but if you look at how he's doing it, what it is, Floyd obviously shadow boxes a lot. He understands movement and momentum. So
Yeah.
when somebody throws a straight right hand and
Yeah.
you pull straight back,
Yeah.
if you pull straight back, the next punch is probably going to be a left hook. It's just it stands to
Basics.
reason.
Yeah.
It's momentum. It's movement. He's
Yeah.
thrown the right hand. The
So
left hook's loaded. The
yeah.
left uppercut's loaded.
Yeah.
So if he throws a straight right hand
Hmm.
and you go underneath it, right? He's probably going to throw a left uppercut. If
Yes.
he throws a straight right hand and you go straight back, he's probably going to throw a left hook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just stuff like that. Stuff like boring stuff.
It's not boring because I could listen to this all day. This is
Yeah, but
interesting. Wow.
it's 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 stuff like that. This is shadow boxing. Shadow boxing. People don't shadow boxing up
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Because the pad work looks good. The pad work looks good. It looks impressive. You know, but you take that shadow boxing and then you do that same thinking on the bag. I see
Yes.
fighters all the time. I see fighters all the time just hitting the bag. So when I train somebody, like I'm trained, even like my PT, I'm doing my PT stuff. Sometimes they hit in the bag, and I'll say to them, "Why did you just throw that?" And they're like,
They can't
"Because
answer, can they?
you should be thinking, well, my opponent's moving to the left, they're moving to the right, they're
Wow.
throwing the punch." And so I ask random, I'm like, "Why did you just throw that?" And if they shrug and think, then it's a waste of time. You're wasting your time. If you're hitting the bag and you're not thinking about anything, you're wasting your time.
What are you doing? Yeah.
It's just a waste of time.
Yeah. I almost feel like throwing my boxing gloves away now. Thanks for that.
No, calm down. Calm down. We'll do
Where
some
are,
pad work.
where are they? Here, love. Look, look at my little babies.
All right, nice. Good gloves as well.
I like good gloves.
Yeah, yeah. Look after
I,
yourself.
I spend more on gloves than I do on clothing. But clearly, after just speaking to you, I don't know why I bother.
Oh dear.
Okay, we're gonna move on because this
All
schooling
right.
has literally made my blood boil, and I'm feeling a little bit hot now because I feel like I've it doesn't matter. We're gonna move on to your coaching. October Red on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. And don't forget, At October Red, we stay ready.
See, okay, ready.